The 2026 Pirates are no longer the familiar residents of the NL Central basement, but they're not close to the penthouse living either. This is a team that has clearly taken a step forward, separating itself from the league's doormats while still looking up at the division's true contenders. The rebuild has produced real, visible progress, just not the kind that erases the gap overnight. Pittsburgh now occupies at a comfortable middle ground, competitive on most nights, capable of stretches of strong baseball, yet still lacking the depth and consistency that define the top of the division. Distance from last place has grown significantly, but the distance to first remains just as real. In 2026, the Pirates aren't just lost anymore. They're just not finished. This is a team climbing. The Pirates aren't just surviving series seasons. They're learning how to win them. And yet, they're not quite there. These Pirates represent something very specific in a life cycle of a franchise. A team on the rise can be dangerous, clearly talented, but still missing consistency, health, and veteran certainty needed to break into October baseball. This is a team knocking on the door. The problem is the door hasn't opened yet. Now, every team begins competing from the mound. And for the Pirates, this is where this transformation truly begins. At the top of the rotation is Paul Skeens, of course, the absolute face of the franchise and the most electric arm in all of baseball, in my opinion. Skeens isn't just a phenom anymore. He's a standard bearer. He brings velocity, command, durability, complete dominance, something the Pirates have traditionally lacked for years. And every time he comes to the mound, he brings fear to the opposing lineups. When Skeens pitches, the Pirates expect to win. Now, behind him is Mitch Keller. He's a steady veteran presence, but might not dominate headlines and provide stability, however. He takes the ball, gives you innings, helps anchor a young staff that still needs leadership. On a playoff team, Keller might be your third starter, but on the Pirates, he's still doing a little more than that. And that's part of this team's story. Then there's Jared Jones, who is going to be returning from injury at some point in 2026. His power arsenal gives the rotation a true strikeout threat. Jones flashes dominance, but like many young arms, consistency is still the main hurdle. One start he looks unhittable, the next he battles command and pitch efficiency issues. But really, how long can the Pirates afford Jones being injured, though? Now, with the rest of the rotation, they have Braxton Ashcraft, Bubba Chandler, Carmen Wadzinski, and Tom Harrington. Now, they're the next wave. Talented, varied, and promising between them, but they're all still trying to figure out what it means to turn potential into production. Chandler's athleticism and stuff jump off the page. Ashcraft brings polish. Wadzinski keeps the ball in the park, while Harrington brings intelligence and sequencing. This is not necessarily a weak rotation, but it's also not a finished one. The Pirates have arms. What they don't have yet is a rotation where 4 or 5 starters can be trusted every single week from April through September. That gap, that lack of dependable depth, is where wins do slip away. And to the bullpen, it tells a similar story. Some impressive ingredients, but definitely uneven execution. On paper, this is a bullpen full of live arms. Gregory Soto gives them a power lefty now. Evan Sisk and Mason Montgomery add depth from the left side. Dennis Santana, their expected closer once again. Johan Ramirez, Kyle Nicholas bring velocity and swing and miss stuff, potential. You also see names like Isaac Matson and Justin Lawrence, who can fill roles, definitely eat innings and bridge gaps. In the background, you've got guys like Cam Sanders, Brandon Boudois, and Wilbur Totel, Ryan Hardman, and Antoine Kelly are really no-name players right now in the majors, but represent future bullpen reinforcements. Arms that might help, arms that might not arrive on time. This bullpen can be good for stretches, but it can also unravel. The 2026 Pirates still struggle with late inning consistency, for sure, in my opinion, with this roster thus far. They'll blow leads they should protect. They tax their best relievers too often, and over a long season, those bullpen meltdowns quietly cost them 6, 8, maybe 10 wins. And those are the wins that separate a 500 team from a wild card contender. They need to improve. Now, at catcher, the Pirates have something most rebuilding teams would love: a few options. Joey Bart provides defense, game calling, experience. Andrew Diaz brings some raw power and athleticism. Andy Rodriguez, when healthy, could be one of the most complete catchers in the organization, despite his very poor showings thus far. Rafael Flores is young, but has some potential. The issue isn't talent. The issue is availability and clarity. In 2026, the Pirates still are juggling roles at catcher. Health timelines, expectations behind the plate. I mean, Rodriguez's long-term health remains a major question. Davis continues to search for consistency. Bart fits, but absolutely doesn't elevate the lineup. It's good depth, but not a position of dominance. Now, the infield might represent where the Pirates are as an organization. They're flexible, they're talented, but still trying to figure out who they really are. Nick York, Nicholas Gonzalez, Jared Triolo form a rotating cast of infielders who do a lot of things well: contact, defense, and base running. But will any of them consistently anchor a lineup? No, absolutely not. Now, recent additions in Brandon Lowe and Ryan O'Hearn are bringing veteran offense and power. But both do come with limitations. They're absolutely useful pieces, but they're not franchise changers necessarily. Emmanuel Valdez, Billy Cook, Jack Brannigan offer depth and upside, but project more of complementary players than core stars. The Pirates' infield doesn't necessarily hurt them, but it doesn't carry them either, and that's part of the issue. And if there is one area where the Pirates should truly feel competitive, it's the outfield. Brian Reynolds remains really the emotional, statistical backbone of the lineup. Did struggle, for sure, in 2025, but he does hit. He plays decent defense, all considered. Not great, don't get me wrong. But every rising team needs a constant. And Reynolds has been that constant. O'Neal Cruz is pretty much their centerpiece. Few players in baseball combine his size, power, and arm strength. And Cruz is locked in. He changes games. In 2026, he had some durability and decision-making issues that are still part of his story, but he hasn't quite made that leap from phenomenal talent to everyday superstar. I mean, you can't call him a superstar when you're hitting 200 despite 20 home runs and 38 stolen bases. You're miserable against left-handed pitching, but a phenomenal talent nonetheless. Jack Sawinski does provide power, and patience, even though his strikeout rate remains part of the deal with him. He's quite a poor contact hitter. The sticks and Garcia represents the next wave. Young, exciting, full of upside, though, should and will be expecting to adjust to major league pitching here in 2026. Hopefully get some good opportunities here. Jake Magnum offers contact and energy. Esmeralyn Valdez waits in the wings as another developmental piece. Potential. This group can score runs. They can pressure pitchers. They can carry the offense for weeks at a time, but they're still missing that true star. The kind of bat that shortens lineups and wins games in September. So, that said, when you step back and look at the 2026 Pirates as a whole, the answers become clear. They're good, but they're not relentless. They'll win series, but they don't dominate months. They'll beat bad teams, but struggle to separate from good ones. They'll rely on youth, and youth will bring inconsistency along with that. But there's still one frontline starter short. They're definitely an elite bullpen arm short. They're another middle of the order bat short. And in the National League, filled with experienced, battle-tested clubs, those gaps really matter. But here's an important part. The 2026 Pirates won't be a complete failure. They'll be proof of progress. This roster's young, it's flexible, it's fairly deep, it has some stars, emerging leaders, a wave of pitching that haven't even fully arrived yet. The organization has choices now. And that's something the Pirate fans haven't really had in quite some time. They're climbing, just haven't reached the summit. Sometimes the hardest step isn't the first one, it's the last one before the top. And by the time this 2026 season comes to a close, one thing will be undeniable. As mentioned earlier, the Pirates in 2026 are no longer the basement of the NL Central. That label, the one that followed this franchise for years, should no longer fit. Not in the standings, not in the field, not in the way this team competes night after night. This is a club that can climb to 500 for the first time since 2018. A team that doesn't just survive a series, but holds its ground. A team that looks at the rest of the division and no longer plays the role of spoiler, but possibly equal. And when you look at the numbers, the progress should be real. Shouldn't be a fluke. It's accumulation. Compared to 2025, this team adds roughly about 8 or 9 more wins, in my opinion. 9 wins earned through better pitching, deeper lineups, and young players who have stopped hoping to belong and starting expecting it. 9 wins that doesn't make headlines, but changes how a franchise is viewed. That jump doesn't mean the rebuild is over, but it does mean the floor has been raised. The Pirates of 2026 are no longer chasing respect. They'll start to claim it. They're no longer the team circles as an easy series every year. They're the team that makes opponents work, makes divisions tighter, and makes the future feel immediate. They may not be a playoff team yet in 2026, but they are done being the basement of the NL Central. Please leave a like, subscribe. Hope you've all enjoyed the video. Thanks everybody for watching. Look out for more videos to come. Thanks everybody. Appreciate your support. Thank you.